Can you believe that an island cursed by ice is actually the strategic throat deciding the very survival of humanity? Behind the veil of silence lie mysterious underground nuclear cities and a massive water bomb capable of wiping every coastal city off the face of the earth. Imagine a giant island so vast it could swallow 5 of Europe's leading powers, Great Britain, France, Germany, Spain, and Italy, all at once. Yet, amidst this overwhelming expanse, the human population is so small it couldn't even fill the seats of a medium-sized football stadium. This is a place where the sun abandons you to relentless darkness for 4 months of frigid winter, only to return and hang suspended in the sky for 4 months of a summer that never ends, blurring every concept of time, reality, and even sanity. This is Greenland, a land that recently stunned the planet when a former US president casually declared a desire to buy it outright from the Kingdom of Denmark. That proposal might have sounded like an arrogant joke in the headlines, but hidden behind it is a massive geopolitical gamble, a race to seize a treasure worth trillions of dollars currently buried beneath the eternal ice. Welcome back to Planet Expedition, where we peel back the layers of our planet's greatest mysteries. Before we dive into the classified files that could shift the global balance of power, we must face an ironic truth, from its very name to its shape on the map. Greenland is the greatest deception in the history of human geography. If you find this journey intriguing, please subscribe to the channel now to support us in bringing you more of these earth-shaking explorations. The first deception lies right before your eyes every time you look at a world map. According to the standard Mercator projection used in schools, Greenland appears massive, seemingly equal in size to the entire continent of Africa. However, this is entirely a mathematical illusion. Africa is over 30 million square kilometers, while Greenland is a mere 2 million. This means you could fit 14 Greenland islands inside the dark continent and still have room to spare. If you had the power of a god to move this island to the equator, you would see it shrink instantly to roughly the size of Mexico. Even the name Greenland is a masterstroke of psychological manipulation from the 10th century. Eric the Red, an exiled Viking leader, chose this lush name specifically to lure his fellow countrymen to settle in a place that is, in reality, 80% white ice and freezing stone. Greenland is also an identity paradox, politically and culturally. It belongs to Europe through the Danish crown, but geologically, the island sits entirely upon the North American tectonic plate. At its narrowest point, the distance between Greenland and Canada is only 16 miles, meaning in winter when the sea freezes, you could quite literally walk across the border, a strange intersection between two continents separated only by endless walls of ice. So, what exactly has made this island, which is both smaller than imagined and completely frozen, a target for acquisition by the world's superpowers? Before we venture deeper into the mysteries beneath the ice sheets thousands of feet thick, Planet Expedition has a small question for you. If you stood before a pristine land that hid a massive treasure, which path would you choose? Option A. Preserve the original beauty of nature to save the planet. Option B. Fully extract the resources in exchange for wealth and absolute power for the nation. Let us know your choice in the comments below. But the deception of size or the deceptive name is nothing compared to the true secrets hidden beneath the island's suffocating ice shield. To truly understand Greenland, we cannot just look at the surface, we must pierce through to the ground beneath, where a massive volume of ice reigns like a sleeping giant carrying a latent power for destruction. Imagine standing at the center of the island at the Summit Station research post. The ice beneath your feet is unfathomably thick, over 10,000 feet. To help you visualize this overwhelming scale, if we placed the world's tallest building, the Burj Khalifa, at the very bottom, it would vanish completely within the ice. Even if you stacked 3 more of those buildings on top of it, you still wouldn't reach the sunlight at the surface. It is a vertical desert of frozen water so deep it defies human comprehension. The weight of trillions of tons of ice is not just a dry statistic on paper. It is a terrifying physical force directly bending the very crust of the Earth. Under the crushing pressure lasting millions of years, the solid continental surface beneath Greenland has been pushed down so far that the center of the island actually sits below sea level. If all this ice were to vanish one day, Greenland would not be the solid mass we see on maps, but would reveal itself as a hollowed-out donut with a massive oceanic basin in the middle, surrounded by jagged coastal mountains. But that vision is far from romantic, because Greenland is the ticking water bomb for all of humanity. This island holds approximately 10% of all the fresh water on the entire planet. Scientists have issued a chilling warning: if the entire ice sheet on Greenland melts, global sea levels will rise by 23 feet. 23 feet is not just a number, it is the boundary between civilization and total devastation. At that height, island paradises like the Maldives would become mere memories in history books. Much of Florida would turn into an extension of the ocean, and in many major deltas across the globe, the most fertile lands would be submerged deep under saltwater. Greenland, therefore, is not a remote land irrelevant to us. It is the safety valve deciding the fate of every coastal city in the world. The movement of the ice here also carries haunting memories and the power to dictate destiny. These glaciers do not stand still, they flow into the sea at staggering speeds, constantly calving massive icebergs. Researchers believe that from the Jakobshavn Glacier in western Greenland, the fateful iceberg broke away and drifted thousands of miles south to deliver the killing blow to the legendary Titanic in 1912. Greenland is not just an island, it is a flow of history and a stark reminder of the untamable power of nature hiding beneath the pure white. If the brutal force of giant ice masses created the physical form of Greenland, then it is the harsh struggle for survival between humans and nature that has written the most tragic and haunting chapters of history. Greenland's story is not just a list of dry dates, but a costly lesson about the relentless elimination of the arrogant and the reward for those who know how to bow before creation. In the 10th century, Vikings led by Eric the Red arrived, bringing ambitions to build a European-style agricultural empire right at the edge of the Arctic. They succeeded for 500 years, building hundreds of farms, solemn stone churches, and a prosperous social system based on livestock. But then, around the 15th century, a deathly silence suddenly enveloped all Viking settlements. When ships from Europe returned after a long hiatus, they found only abandoned homes and decaying skeletons. The tragedy of the Vikings did not lie in a lack of weapons or wealth, but in cultural rigidity. As a mini ice age arrived and temperatures plummeted, the Vikings stubbornly clung to raising cattle and growing hay instead of learning to hunt seals or whales. They chose to starve amidst a massive food supply from the ocean simply because of pride, refusing to adapt to the polar lifestyle like the indigenous people around them. In total contrast to that decline, the ancestors of today's Inuit, the Thule people, demonstrated the absolute power of change. They did not try to fight the frost but chose to merge with it, seeing ice and snow as allies rather than enemies. Instead of the water-absorbent and cold-retaining wool of the Europeans, they wore windproof and waterproof furs, instead of heavy wooden ships easily crushed by ice. They moved with dog sleds and flexible kayaks that could be carried on their shoulders. They did not just survive, they thrived to become the greatest survival masters of the Arctic. That resilience and stillness also seem to be inherited by the strange creatures here. Deep beneath the pitch-black and freezing ocean, the Greenland shark silently swims through the centuries with a heart rate so slow it is almost unbelievable. With a lifespan that can reach over 500 years, an individual you see today might have been born during the Renaissance. It has swum leisurely, witnessing the rise and fall of countless human empires, living through the Industrial Revolution and 2 world wars, while it has yet to reach the end of its own life. Life in Greenland always carries such a bizarre and extreme quality, where the line between breath and freezing is as thin as a layer of spring ice. The lesson from the Viking ghosts and the silence of the ancient shark reminds us, on this island, the strongest is not the one with the sharpest sword or the latest technology, but the one who knows how to adapt and respect the harshest laws the planet has set. However, behind the inspiring survival stories of humans and animals, Greenland also hides a top-secret file where the island becomes the center of the most brutal power calculations on the planet. Why would a harsh land, where the cold can freeze all life, make generations of American presidents willing to spend billions in gold to try and buy it? The answer does not lie in pristine beauty, but in a geopolitical position described as the choke point of all North America. During the suffocating years of the Cold War, the Pentagon quickly realized a terrifying truth: the shortest path for a nuclear missile to fly from Russia to Washington, D.C. is not across the Atlantic, but straight over the North Pole, where Greenland sits on guard. To control that deadly flight path, the US established Thule Air Base, a lonely, watchful eye at 76 degrees north. Here, massive radar systems constantly scan space, tasked with detecting the early start of a Third World War, giving Washington just a few precious minutes to decide on interception or retaliation. US ambition here was even crazier than we can imagine, with the presence of a secret underground project called Iceworm. In the 1960s, deep beneath the eternal ice shield, the US military secretly dug miles of tunnels to build Camp Century, a miniature nuclear city capable of housing up to 600 mobile nuclear missiles. This idea turned Greenland into a massive stealth launchpad, ready to strike a lethal blow against an opponent from beneath the ice without a single satellite of that era being able to detect it. Soldiers and scientists lived and worked in the ice like ghosts, operating a nuclear reactor right in the belly of the white giant. Yet, Mother Nature proved she was not a partner to be easily tamed. The twisting force and the slow but powerful movement of the eternal ice crushed the sturdiest tunnels like a tube of toothpaste, forcing the US to withdraw and leave behind radioactive waste that remains deep under the snow to this day. Now, the race for Greenland has entered a new chapter as the Ice Silk Road begins to reach out from the east. The appearance of corporations wanting to invest in airport infrastructure and mineral extraction has kept Western strategists awake at night, forcing them to reaffirm control at any cost. Greenland is no longer a forgotten island, it has become the silent battlefield of a new era, where every drifting iceberg carries the breath of a superpower confrontation. Whoever holds the key to Greenland not only holds the security of North America but also masters a future maritime corridor emerging with the speed of the melting ice. The silence of the polar region has now been broken by cold political calculations, turning the island into a pivotal piece on the global power chessboard. The allure of Greenland in the 21st century no longer stops at missile launch pads or strategic radar bases. It also lies in the tangible physical treasure gradually appearing as the eternal ice begins to loosen its grip. Beneath the barren mountain ranges of the Kvanefjeld area lies a massive reserve of rare earth elements, dubbed the green gold of the high-tech era. If oil defined the power of the Middle East in the last century, then elements like neodymium or dysprosium in Greenland are the keys to operating the future world, from electric vehicle batteries and wind turbines to the most sophisticated components in the phone you are holding. Greenland now stands before the opportunity to become a Saudi Arabia of the Arctic, a position that could help them break a century-long economic dependence and move toward total independence. Even a strange other resource is bringing unexpected profits: construction sand from melting ice. While the world is running out of fine sand for concrete, Greenland possesses reserves of high-quality sand and gravel naturally crushed by the weight of glaciers over millions of years, creating a cruel irony where the climate disaster itself provides the material for humans to build new cities. Yet, behind the glamour of trillion-dollar mineral mines is a haunting and painful human reality that the islanders must face. The extreme isolation of geography along with the shock of rapid modernization has pushed Greenlandic society into the deepest shadows of the soul. In just a few decades, proud Inuit hunting communities with strong spiritual connections to nature were forced to abandon a nomadic lifestyle to move into cold, soulless concrete apartment blocks. This rupture of faith and identity has created a severe scar in the heart of society. The result is a figure that makes the whole world go silent. Greenland has the highest suicide rate on the planet. In this land, the darkness of winter is not as scary as the gnawing loneliness and the displacement of young people caught between two worlds, a glorious past of icy hunters and an industrialized future full of traps. Alcohol and substances become temporary painkillers but bring about distressing social consequences, forcing the government to issue strict bans to save a generation losing its way. Greenland today stands at a historical crossroads, an internal struggle between trading eternal wilderness for the ultimate wealth of rare earth mines, or striving to keep a spiritual identity in exchange for peace in poverty. The roar of excavators at the mining sites contrasts sharply with the sound of ice cracking in the night, creating a dramatic symphony of a people striving to position themselves in a new world order that is both volatile and ruthless. Looking back at this entire journey, we realize Greenland is not just a forgotten island amidst the ice, but a mirror reflecting the greatest paradoxes of humanity in the 21st century. It is a place where the absolute silence of nature must confront the bottomless ambition of superpowers, where ancient creatures living through 5 centuries are making way for the race for rare earths and nuclear power. Greenland stands there as a stark reminder that this planet is not static. And every impact we make, no matter how small, can trigger water bombs, capable of redrawing the world map. This island also shows us the limits of humanity. No matter how many billions the US spends or how many fortified underground cities the military builds, it can all be crushed under the silent movement of the eternal ice. The most profound lesson we draw from Greenland is the philosophy of flexible adaptation. The Vikings perished in pride because they stubbornly clung to old values amidst a context that had completely changed. In contrast, the Inuit conquered adversity by knowing how to bow before nature and turning the harshest conditions into a survival advantage. In today's volatile modern life, this lesson becomes even more valuable. Never fall asleep on old successes or cling to obsolete knowledge. When the ice of difficulties or sudden changes of the era arrives, the one who survives and rises is not the strongest, but the one who knows how to observe, listen, and is ready to change their mindset to merge into the new flow. Learn to live like the Inuit in work and life. Be flexible, resilient, and always cherish your core values amidst a world full of calculations. Before closing today's exploration journey, we really want to hear from you. If you had the chance, would you choose to visit Greenland to witness the eternal glaciers once in your life? Please leave your answer in the comments. Planet Expedition looks forward to chatting with you. And don't forget to subscribe to the channel to support us in making more of these thrilling discoveries. Thank you for staying with us until these final moments.